Sharing creative work over email is a terrible idea. The client probably doesn't have the technical language to explain why something isn't working, and it can be infuriating when you're both speaking different languages. Today I'm going to show you how video makes it much easier to make progress. This is Square's TV app lab number 130, where I show you how to use the tools I've created to look better on video. I'm Michael Forrest. I make Video Pencil, Shoot and CueCam presenter. It's just me designing, coding, making videos, live streaming and talking to you. I'm a company of one person, so I made these tools so I can concentrate on my job instead of editing videos all the time. And this is all CueCam. So there's no eCam, there's no OBS, there's no Keynote, there's no audio hijack, there's no omnibus, which I just discovered, audio loopback, and no NDI. It's all just coming out of my own app, CueCam Presenter. So let us start with some updates. And I will say hi, Ray. Thanks for joining. Bit of a sort of. Let me check the audio. Yeah, okay, that's sounding. Am I on the right mic? Yes. Okay, let me shut the door. Bit of a hectic start this evening. I updated Square's TV last week, and then when I went to use my email sending system, that was broken. So I've just spent the last a bit too long trying to figure out how to actually tell everyone that I'm going live today. I managed to figure it out. No thanks to Claude. Well, a little thanks to Claude. You know, sometimes you just get the robot to kind of explain to you in simple language what exactly the error message means, and then you like ignore all of its advice and just do the right thing, right? Just figure out what to actually do. So yeah, what are we? More than one ingestion is using the primary URL. Send one stream to the primary. Oh, goodness. Okay. So let me know if there's any issues with the stream. Let me just have a look. Seems okay. It just means maybe I'm sending it twice. Right. So you may or may not have noticed that Video Pencil is on version 2.0 as of last week, or the week before, in fact. There's less to talk about due to some stuff that's a little bit beyond my control. So yeah, some sort of last minute stuff happened before I was about to start telling everyone about this. That means I can't quite kind of like go out to the world with the really exciting thing about Video Pencil 2.0. So I'm just waiting for some updates on that. In the meantime, I can tell you about some of the smaller things that I've fixed. The first one is, it's on that. In the meantime, I can tell you about some of the smaller things that I've fixed. The first one is, if we go over to the Osmo camera, and I'm going to go View, second camera shows Video Pencil, and then it puts my face back on there. Right, we zoom in a bit and see if we can, I don't know if this is going to be in focus or not, but this media menu is now doing a bit more work. So if you've got different clients connected, if you've got a different Mac connected, and in my case, if I've got like 3 different versions of CueCam running, instead of like popping up those sort of crazy alerts all the time, which one do you want to connect to? It just connects to all of them, and you just switch to the camera you want to be using to draw with, right? So that's just much. So it just puts it so it will still default to the last one you used, but if there's 2, then you're going to have to manually switch to the other one, and I think that's going to feel a lot more sensible. And that is, you know, part of that was to do with the 2.0 version. Next thing I've done, I had a bit of a chat with a music teacher in Hong Kong who wanted to be able to use Video Pencil in a way that I hadn't quite seen before. So I'll show you what that is. So the first thing was, I mean, she was having. I've heard this from other people, but there's symbols where you can like hold the button and make a symbol appear, right? This kept catching people out and they didn't know how to get rid of it. So I've just made that turned off by default. So I think that's going to make it a little bit less confusing. Something else I don't know if you've noticed, when I tap away from the menu, now it doesn't like draw a dot anymore. So that's a nice change. But what she wanted to do was like load in a video. So if we loaded in, I haven't got Harvey. Here's Well, let's say we were loading in a. Let's pretend this is video, right? So I'm in Video Pencil now. So if I'm just well, this is slightly different to if I was if I what's going to happen if I go like front camera, right? I'm picture in picture, but if I'm not picture in picture, I'm going to be like full screen. So I can be kind of like here and I can be talking about this, but what she wanted to do was kind of sort of start making some notes up here on the side, and then maybe like, oh, your app your your chest support is a bit weird. She wanted to be able to zoom in, but because it zooms this stuff over here, it's just kind of messing things up a bit. So my solution is just to make it so that you can turn off drawing zooming, so that when you kind of like start writing some notes here, let's go back to CueCam. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so I'm still on the side here. So even if say you wanted to be like in a rectangle down here, you could sort of have your notes here, and then you could sort of say this, but you could also like, well, you could have your notes, they could stay, and then you could like zoom in on the thing and say this and this, and then sort of like clear that, but like keep your notes going. So I thought that was, of course, it's not really showing properly on the, yeah, okay, it's because it's zooming in the Mac. So this is just sort of like a handy little way of using it that I hadn't thought of. So that's why I talk to people. That's why I'm always reaching out and saying, "Hey, can we have a chat? I'd like to kind of understand how you're using the apps," and then I can sort of like help with little things like that. And also like because the background camera was coming in weird as well, so that was kind of causing some problems as well. So I was like, oh yeah, they shouldn't show the background camera behind everything. Um, right. So the next thing I was going to mention was, yeah, I had a chat. I'd given someone else a Video Pencil lifetime updates, which is settings updates. Oh, I'll tell you about something else. So lifetime updates is supposed to give you the laser pointer and everything. Although I noticed that needs to wrap. But I had a bug where it wasn't giving you the laser pointer, and it was on his suggestion that the laser pointer can now be put into this fade after pause mode down here, so you can draw something and then wait a moment and then it disappears. Draw, wait a moment, then it disappears. Compared to the normal way, the way it used to work, which was just it sort of leaves a trail. So that was his suggestion, and then I just realised, oh, it hasn't even got it because I have a bug in how I detect which purchases you've made. But something I had, like, it was kind of stressful getting this version of Video Pencil approved as well, mainly because I've added it. They just decide, someone in app review there. Can I make this focus any better on the Osmo? Can I improve this? Is that any better? Um, the text there I changed to remove watermarks and unlock features because people are always like, how do I remove the watermark? And so I changed that. And then the app reviewer was like, this promotes illegal behavior in some jurisdictions. And I was like, well, no, that's what I should have told you that the other way around. The app reviewer got it into their head that this meant I had the ability to remove watermarks from copyrighted videos. Um, Nowhere in the app does it make any sort of claim, but they just like invented that this was what I was trying to do and encouraging, and so I had to sort of like go back and forth on that. But luckily, I did get that reviewed. But yeah, it's weird. Sometimes when you're at the mercy of Apple, it can be a little bit. Usually, it's a bit of a black box, and you don't get anything if you just write something in a reply. But in this case, I was able to just write a reply and say, "Where did you get the idea that it even did that?" That's a very creative idea. It's not something I offer. Um, the next thing, yeah, like came. Someone was asking about being able to add their own watermark, which was again, so they wanted to be able to record a video with their commentary and actually like put something over the top of that. So now, under settings, we have got what there used to be a kind of when you had no camera selected, then it would show you the background image, but I've moved that into settings now. So camera output has an add background and an add watermark now. So you can add something behind the camera, like I don't know. I only have I need to have like pictures. So you could have this behind the camera, and then we could have a watermark. I think I had something in here. Sorry, this is. I did have something, but now you can add a watermark, and that's where you do it. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna talk about that too much more. But yeah, it's now possible to set a background and an overlay, and you see there's some notes about just make sure it's a transparent PNG with the same size as your video output. I am noticing this text is truncated. I need to fix that. Remind me. I had another thing where I was trying to understand this coach's workflow where he wanted to be able to rename videos after showing them in Video Pencil. So, and I didn't really understand. I just thought it was like when you export, like when you record a file. So you can record a file, blah 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 blah. Stop recording. Right. So that's there, and I just thought. He wanted to be able to rename it before sharing it. So I thought, yeah, that makes sense. So I sort of did that. So that's in there now, but it turned out that wasn't actually what he needed. So, okay. That's fine. But it turns out he wanted to sort of be able to maybe like rename it back in the iPhoto library, in the Photos library. But what I have done is if you do have a video, there's now like an export which will take the file name that you've given it in CueCam. So that's I don't know if that helps, but that's some stuff that sometimes it's a bit harder to understand what someone's trying to do and why they're trying to do it in my app. I also discovered that live photos wouldn't load into Video Pencil, which is now fixed. I also discovered that I do not have enough water in here with me. I also discovered that I do not have enough water in here with me. So if you loaded in a picture that had a live photo, it just wasn't happening. So that sort of sucked a bit. But yeah, I fixed that. And then here is something that I think you might like a lot if you're a long-time user of Video Pencil. I've noticed that all these videos had this debug text up here. Down here, like this bar is all well and good, right? But the problem I kept having was when you, on these newer iPads, you have to like swipe away, and sometimes it would just like move, you'd sort of come back and it would have also moved that bar. So, and yeah, so it'd just be in the wrong place because it's sort of like, because that gesture could like sort of interfere with it a little bit. But what I've done is pin toolbar. So now it pins the toolbar and it will not move from where you left it. And I think that is going to make some people very happy. It's certainly been a long time annoyance for me that I'm glad to finally have dealt with. And this is, I think this is a good compromise because you still might want to have it on one finally have dealt with. And this is, I think this is a good compromise because you still might want to have it on one side or the other, right? And I did put a lot of time into making sure that transition, you see how it sort of turns into the current tool and then kind of like springs out. This is not something Apple has done. This is something I've had to like recreate. Yeah, it springs out. This is not something Apple has done. This is something I've had to like recreate. Yeah, so that's now pinnable. So hopefully that makes you happy. Comment, like this video if you like that feature. Meanwhile, CueCam 4.0, I'm pretty excited about where it is, but like a release is still a way off. But I will kind of show you a little bit on that. So something that I've done here, if we can just like zoom my desktop out. Can I zoom out my desktop? Do I just need to make this smaller? Right, this is kind of the shape of, this is what CueCam 4 is going to look like, right? So you've got a nice sort of side-to-side window, and then all the things you need, like recording, go live recording, slots and stuff. If we kind of get rid of that slot, you can sort of see. And we have this show something option. So which if it was working, right, it would, if I wanted to share Discord, I could just type Discord, press enter, that would share Discord. So like it's really fast access to the stuff. Like you can put different slides up, you can share different apps. You can like go to pick an app, go to a blank board. You can just do that all from here. And you can sort of like mute your microphone, mute, hide your camera and stuff from here. And you can just, if you don't have any slides, you just have this really nice, I think this is very Apple now, right? So this is CueCam 4, but the really cool thing is you can actually pull this and like keep that somewhere else, right? So you can close, the CueCam window can be somewhere else, but you can have this under Zoom, right? For example. So now you've got like all of your controls and the ability to share anything. The ability to like see, go live, control your live stream, turn off your camera, all right there. Also, if Video Pencil isn't connected, which is it? It is connected here. But I've also made it so that if you don't have Video Pencil on an iPad, you can still like. Wait, if I sort of get rid of the iPad, will this disconnect? Okay, so I've done it so you can just like draw something directly inside the CueCam window. Oops. Yeah. So now. Yeah, CueCam 4, you'll be able to just, if you don't have the iPad, you can still, okay, it's a work in progress. But yeah, you'll be able to just, you saw a little bit of that. I wonder why that's not working. If we make a new, and then, if you have like more than one tab, then it's just going to go into the more standard tabbed view. I would love to demonstrate that again, but I guess it's only going to work once. But yeah, this is a bit of a CueCam 4 preview. Let me know, your feelings on this, and then you can like, if you're sort of up here, you can just like reattach that. Is the reattach thing that was weird there? Anyway, whatever's going on there doesn't matter too much. But yeah, this is what we're looking at with the new CueCam. I'm quite excited, but it's quite hard to find time to work on it. So let's come back here. So let us talk, if this is why you are indeed here, about sharing your work. Because I thought this was an interesting topic for, it's just something I did recently. So I've got a little bit of a story about sharing some music and why I think it's so effective with a tool like CueCam. Or the tool that is CueCam, which is, I think, pretty unique. Now, I wish I had something I could send you to. Okay, this transition, by the way, I don't know if you've noticed recent live streams when I transitioned to another presentation, I could freeze up for a moment, but did you see how I did not freeze up for a moment? Then I have optimized that. Also, that looks better inside. I've made quite a few CueCam changes, which I should probably have gone through here as well. Some useful little things, but again, a little bit rushed. Right. Sharing work on your webcam. Let's talk about it. We can talk about. There's three levels to this. Look, my looks like this is. Sorry, just while Video Pencil is being. I think when you switch. Yeah, okay, so we're losing like loads of frames. While Video Pencil is being. I think when you switch. Yeah, okay, so we're losing like loads of frames aren't being confirmed. Right, sorry. Right. We can talk about showing prepared decks. We can talk about showing creative work like visual design or motion graphics, right? We can talk about sharing the work directly. And what I mean by that is it's more of a screen sharing thing than a presentation thing. It's like, I'm going to take you through this. We're going to play it back, but it's going to be interactive. Right. Give me 5 seconds. Active. Right, give me 5 seconds. I am just going to grab some water because otherwise this is going to be hard to listen to. Something for the go live checklist. Always have some water. But yeah, just literally, I kind of went live a minute late today because of the panics. There's always a panic. So yeah, I'm actually going to talk about music because I think in a way that's the most complex version of this. Hi, Tony. But also we can just talk about sketching out an idea. So Let's take these in reverse order. So, sketching out an idea. So, if you get an idea while you're talking to someone, a sketch is a really good way to draw it, is a really good way to share it, right? You just throw something up, they can see it immediately. Now, you could write it on a bit of paper and hold it up to the camera. And so, like, if the lighting's okay and your camera is not too, you know, awkward about focus, then that could work. But I don't know that that's always the solution. You could use Apple's cursed desk view feature, where it distorts everything to try and show what's on your desk. I've noticed that I tried it today and it wouldn't even. It's sort of like it's really small. I thought it was supposed to make that like big, but you see, you're sort of like it's a weird feature, continuity camera thing. But if you really just want to be using Video Pencil, you really just want to say. Because with Video Pencil, you can see your computer's webcam on your iPad, and when you draw, it comes up on the computer's. Yeah, it comes up on your computer, right? So if you're on Zoom, soon you'll actually be able to connect Video Pencil with a Zoom app on Mac or Windows. But for me, I want to be. For now, you'll want to be on a Mac and use CueCam Presenter. Um, so what you'll do there, you'll download CueCam on your Mac, you'll go through the installation process, then you'll set it up as your camera in Zoom. I've done lots of videos on this, you can sort of go to the website. And then you'll put Video Pencil on your iPad. And then whenever you're ready to draw something, you can just draw it and you can sketch something. I can obviously like do a sketch for you in real time. So yeah, I've just got my iPad here. It's well, as you've seen, it's showing my webcam, and I can just like draw away and do some stuff and come up with it, and I can come up with the next big tech innovation. And then if your background's a bit busy, you can pull out a blank board like this, and you can sort of make a bit of space to draw. And if it's a real keeper, Video Pencil lets you, so you can tap down. Sorry, just you can tap this. That pops up this. There's a share drawing option, and then you can like save that picture or send it or whatever. Um, so yeah, like using that, you could just go right now and make some sheep saddle money right away today. Next thing I want to talk about is sending a work in progress, and this is a bit more of a this is something I've found very hard in the past. So back in 2008, I was it was like after my 30th birthday, and I'd quit my before my 30th. I was like, I've got to quit my job. I cannot be just making like flash websites for Canon. Like this is not or whatever company, Savills. I can't. That can't be my legacy in this life. I've got to quit and work on music. And a friend that I'd made some music with as well, but a friend of mine who worked for moved to another agency, and she brought me on to make some music for this brand marketing project, which was kind of a completely different. I'd never really done any work for hire like that. Well, not in music, lots of programming for hire, but never sort of like my beloved creative medium, you know. Um, so and then the brief for that was pretty vague, and the pay was barely worth it. But I did sort of like put something together, mostly loop libraries and some samples I had lying around. I just sent over some MP3s and just probably with not much description. I just went, here's what I've worked on. And that's when all the vague feedback began. And I mean, it's my fault partly because I was sending like vague work. And I just really, the way I remember it is that it was really vague and really hand wavy and completely useless. So I actually found the email thread today. And I noticed it was actually mostly, can you make it a bit less dark? I think I was still pretty sad back then, and I didn't really understand what they meant. And then the creative director came back with a list of songs to listen to about a month too late. And I just felt like I was going to be starting again if I went through that. And I was angry and I was like annoyed that they just didn't know how to talk about music without kind of going to this hand wavy abstract thing. I just like sent this email saying, listen, I'm really sorry, but I realized I'm not capable of producing music in this way. First demos already felt overwhelmingly trite and upbeat to me, and going in any more uplifting direction is proving impossible, especially given the tight time constraint and my intensely unhappy mood. So yeah, I mean, that was a different time. That's a long time ago now. It made me grateful that I could keep my creative work separate from the things that make money. But that kind of stuck with me for ages. And I was like, I just can't, I just don't want to be selling creative work. This is not something that's interesting to me. It's too hard. It makes me too sad and angry, right? But I did eventually jump back in, and this is not so much for hire, but I recently scored a documentary film for a local director. Um, and he started asking for updates, and basically I sort of like have every other Tuesday allocated to working on it, basically. So it's taking a little while to get going. But before I had anything finished to show, I actually used CueCam to make a video showing what I'd done so far, along with some notes about my process. So I shared Logic Pro into CueCam, so the audio comes in via CueCam screen sharing. You don't need any special like omnibus stuff. And then my face cam's on top, and this meant I could show the timeline and play through bits and sort of like put off pressing play until I'd like explained it enough and contextualized it enough, and just like justify why I'd done it this way. And so like while the music was playing back, I could like, wince at the bits I was least happy with. But, I could have the time code up and you can see the timeline, you can see the mix there. So it was a way of doing things that meant that I felt a little bit less out of control with. And I could also, my skin was crazy back in April as well. I could also wave around my trumpet and say, yeah, I use the trumpet for this bit because I think that's a bit more Roseburn Pathy. And then I'd even recorded some video footage of the original like samples that I'd made for the recording, the tunes that I'd recorded. So I sort of was able to just play a little bit of that back through CueCam. And I just had a look back at that today, and the video was pretty rambly, but it got the buy-in I needed. So I think that was a pretty good success. And then a few weeks later, I had a finished result going, so instead of the sort of chaotic version in progress, I was able to show the final version. So let me, I was going to sort of just try and show you, like, so something like this.
To politicians.
Not
So
the nature.
Yeah, so I'm sort of like, it sounded like this in like the first version. It's a mess, so don't listen to it too much. So it's pretty awful in that thing. But because I'd sort of provided so much context, I was able to sort of get him on board with all that. And I sort of wanted to show you, I'm just trying to see, kind of wanted to show you the more finished thing, because let's try and find it if I can. Right, music preview, was it this one? That's the 8th of April. Roseburn. Right, and again, I apologize. I think I have it on Dropbox. Sorry, I'm just having a see if I can look for it. I will. Right, I need to quit the other version of CueCam. Hopefully this doesn't mess anything up. I will go to Roseburn Path documentary music, and I will. Did I have a video? Yes, reference video. Okay, yes, I've got it. He's got it. So this was kind of just so you know, kind of like what it ended up like. This was kind of the bit that I just showed you. Kind of ended up like this.
The deep dialogue surrounds the debates of politicians, city planners to environmental activists. The debates around the future of the Roseburn Path will continue and evolve.
Okay, but anyway, so that was a sort of pretty rambly video. that I sent over, and that was enough to get the buy-in. But you can actually make it more of a structured video with CueCam. It's very easy with CueCam to bring in a few cue cards, sort of really hone your script, bring exactly the right thing on screen at the right time, like everything like you see me doing today when I've prepared it. So if you did have like a bit more of a high pressure, I've got one chance to impress this person, then you might spend a bit more time on the CueCam script. So I'm not going to sort of go into too much of that today, but there's some other videos on this channel, so stay subscribed to sort of keep an eye out for that, or have a look at the website, or have a look at this YouTube channel. But yeah, what are the lessons from this? What did I really learn from all this? I think sharing work over email, especially with no context, is a terrible idea. Just throwing half-finished stuff is just not a good idea. The client probably doesn't have the technical language to explain why something isn't working, and it can be really infuriating when you're both speaking different languages. It's like, I just want you to know which aspect of it needs to be different. I don't want you to start talking about Missy Elliott and I don't know, like sort of vaguely pointing to different things when, it's a bit late in the game to do that. Like, it can get frustrating. But like to share stuff, and I find like my more successful artist friends are very good at like writing up why they did it, because I think, and in fact, if you go to a museum, like there's always a little card to tell you what to think about the art. I try to avoid looking at that too much. I'd like to try and make my own impressions on things first, but like people do like some context, and I like to be told what to think, and David Lynch will refuse to do that, but like most of us don't have that luxury. But if you can like frame what you've done, then that gives them a chance to buy into your approach. It gives them a chance to you're bringing them along with you, right? And then that means that they're a bit more invested in the result, and they can sort of see why they like it, and they can tell other people why they like it, because half the time they're just like, middle management or the client they have to take it back to the client, and you're just kind of giving them the tools to get the buy-in instead of just like throwing some creative work over the wall and waiting for them to, hoping that they can justify it. I think the written word can only get you so far. Video lets you synchronize what you're saying with the media you're sharing. So when I share something and I'm showing the timeline, I can say, there's no ambiguity about which bit I mean. I don't have to put timestamps in, right? And you're kind of like trying to figure out how to make it show you the timestamp in QuickTime or whatever. No, we sort of like, it removes a lot of ambiguity. And it lets you give a lot of extra information that would have been, if you typed this all up in an email, it would be pretty unreasonable for someone. But if you can like ramble through on a video, and they can speed it up maybe, I think it feels a lot more acceptable. It actually probably lends a bit of tension to things in a way that it's not the same in an email. I think just if you put like an extra 6 paragraphs that weren't really getting closer to anything, I think people would be pretty upset. So in an ideal world, you would bring your client into the studio, sit them on a comfy sofa, give them a nice drink, and then tell them they're looking great right before pressing play. This is sort of like how things used to work, pre-remote. But now, when we're working remotely, or even just asynchronously, it's like this director is in Edinburgh. It's just like, we're not going to we don't need to get together to share progress. So that just means that we can, when we don't have that option, making a video or it's jumped back to the first card. Right, let me just come back to the any questions. But I will also see that I think John is here, and John says CueCam Live bits stimulate Zoom audiences. 2. Yesterday I was asked about my trip to Alaska and illustrated the tectonic platform colliding along the Aleutian Islands. Bring them along indeed. So yeah, that's kind of my content for today. Sorry, it's a bit rough around the edges, and I promised I have decided I do want to evolve this format a bit, but I think it's going to be a bit longer than 2 weeks to get the ball rolling on that. But yeah, the goal is guests, not to be doing this on my own all the time. But you see, the upside of doing it on my own is I can, if it's very last minute and loads of things go wrong, I could just like deal with it. But yeah, I think something I want to do is just not. It feels a bit like isolating, kind of like just doing things all on my own. And you know, this is something I'd like to change. But thank you for watching today. If you made it this far and you don't already have CueCam, here is a discount for your first month, year. So feel free to like and subscribe. Come over to squares.tv/discord where we're chatting, talking about things. And generally it's a nice place to hang out. And so there we are. Thank you everybody, and I will see you soon. Take care. I need to put in a new card after, which is a thanks, so that we can have this music continue. So it's going to be thanks, and it's going to be full screen. So it's going to be thanks, and it's going to be full screen, and I'm going to be gone.